Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Oluwabukola. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft a basic bodice block, the half scale. Alright, the materials needed here, we need the tape measure, we need our masking tape, we need the pencil. But here, for the purpose of this tutorial, for clarity of my markings, I'll be using a marker. So this is my marker, but I would advise you use the pencil while drafting your block, okay? Then we need the paper scissors. You should have a separate scissors for cutting your fabric and paper. So a separate one for the pattern paper and a separate one for your fabric. It's advisable, okay? Then we need a long ruler, the straight ruler. Then we need the French curve or any other curve ruler you have or you can purchase, okay? So here the measurements we need for this block is the shoulder measurement, the bust point stroke the bust circumference, the waist length stroke the waist circumference, okay? So let's get to our pattern paper. Here on my pattern paper, the box created on this paper is derived by taking the biggest circumference between the waist and the bust. You know, the two major circumferences that we have on this block are the bust and the waist circumference, okay? So between the two, you are going to choose the biggest one. So here I have the bust, which is the biggest, and the bust circumference I'm working with here is 35 inches, while the waist is 30 inches. So the 35 inches divided by 2, okay, that will be 17.5. Then I'll be adding 1 inch for my dart allowance, okay? So here, from this point here, I created this margin just for the fact that the edges of the pattern paper might not be smooth enough. So it is advisable you create a margin at the sides and at the top and at the lower part, okay? So here, from this point down here is my 18.5. Remember I said my bust circumference divided by 2, then plus 1 inch dart allowance, okay? So from here to here I have my 18.5 inches. So the 18.5 inches divided into 2 equal halves. So this is the midpoint of my 18.5, which is 9.25, okay? So this is the center of my 18.5. So this represents my center front, okay? And this is my center back. This is the shoulder line and this is the hem line. But I won't be labeling this now until we take our vertical measurement and we determine the length of our back block, because the length of the back and front block are not the same, okay? So now we move to our measurements. First, we'll take the shoulder measurement, which the shoulder I'm working with here is 15 inches. So divided by 2, we'll be dividing that by 2, and that will be 7.5, okay? 7.5, that is my shoulder. So I'll mark that on the shoulder line. This is my center back. So this is the center and the back block rather, and this is the front block. Okay, so I'll mark that on the back block and also do so on the front block. So here is my 7.5 inches, okay? Now we'll move ahead and then I'll take the neckline width and depth. The basic neckline width is 3 inches, so I'm going to mark my 3 inches. Remember, this is a back block, so 3 inches. So for the depth, I'll be taking 1 inch for the back, and then I'll use my curve ruler to connect the 2 points, both the depth and the width. Okay, and then I'll move to the front block. and mark 3 inches for the width and 3 inches for the depth. These are the basic neckline measurements. You can choose whichever you want, so it's not static. Okay, so you can choose whichever neckline width and depth you want, but these are the basics. Okay, so I'll connect the two as well. Okay, all right, now we'll move to taking measurements of the shoulder slope. So at that point where we took our shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1 inch. That is the shoulder slope on both front and back block. So come down by 1 inch and connect that 1 inch to the neckline width on both my front and back block. Connect to the neckline width like so. All right, and then the length of the armhole is determined by taking the bust circumference the best way. So it's not the only method of determining the armhole circumference, armhole length rather. Okay, so it's the bust circumference divided by 6 then plus 1.5. It works perfectly. But you can also take the circumference of the arm, okay, and divide it by 2. But this method works for everybody. So my bust circumference is 35 inches divided by 6 is 5.8. Then plus 1.5, that will be 7.3 inches. So that is my armhole length. Okay, so from the shoulder slope, okay, from my shoulder slope, I'll mark 7.3, which is my armhole length, 7.3 inches. Okay, here is my 7.3 on both front and back block. From my shoulder slope, I'm not starting from my shoulder line, but from my shoulder slope, 7.3, and then I'll mark that across. In order to have a straight line, then I'll take the measurement of the armhole length right from the shoulder line. Okay, that will be 8.3. So I'll mark the 8.3 across in order to have a straight line. So I'm marking it across from my center back to the center front. Okay, just for us to have a straight line. Okay, I'm going to mark that across horizontally, and this serves as our chest line. Okay, so this is our chest line, the chest line. Okay, so now in order to have a straight line, I'm going to mark the shoulder measurements. Remember our 7.5 on the shoulder line, I'll mark it on this line just to have a straight line for our armhole length. Okay, so my 7.5 from the center back, this is 7.5, and also from the center front, this is 7.5. Okay, and then I will mark a vertical line on that point to connect to the shoulder slope. So I'm connecting my armhole length. All right, now we'll mark the midpoint of the armhole. Okay, so you take the measurement from the shoulder slope on the armhole length and determine the midpoint, the center of the measurement. that is the length, the armhole length divided into 2 equal halves, so the middle. So here I have this, okay, that is the midpoint on the back block, and I'll come here as well and mark the midpoint of my armhole length, okay. So I'll connect the 2 points. This is not compulsory anyway, but just to indicate the center, the midpoint. What I'm saying, what I said is not compulsory is me marking it horizontally like this, okay. I can decide to leave the marking and connect my armhole, but just for clarity of the tutorial, I'll just mark it across horizontally. So this is the midpoint for the front block, and then the midpoint for the armhole of the back block. And then on the midpoint for this back block, I'll come in by 0.5 inch here, and on the front block at that midpoint I'll come in by 0.75, okay. From that point I'll connect to, I'll use my straight ruler. I can use my straight ruler to connect this measurement to the shoulder slope, and then use my curve ruler to curve the armhole. Or I can also use my curve ruler to connect these 3 points, this shoulder slope and this point, and then to the chest line, okay, connecting the 3 points like so. So making sure that my curve ruler touches the shoulder slope and the 0.5 inch that we just came in on the armhole length for the back block, and then to the chest line. So this, the 3 point, the chest line, this 0.5, and then the shoulder slope. So I can use my curve ruler to do it like this, to connect it this way. Or I can also do it this way by marking this point with my straight ruler, connecting it straight down here. Let me do it this way here so you can see what I'm saying. And then I will use my curve ruler to complete it like so. I hope you can see that. So it's the same way. So I can choose to use my curve ruler to connect the 3 points as well, okay, like this. It will still give me the same result, just like we did for the back block, like this. Or the first way method I have used, okay, can connect it this way. Okay, to avoid the painting. So I'm just trying to explain that you can either use your curve ruler or the straight ruler at first, then you complete it with your curve ruler. So now that we have completed our armhole for the front and back block, then we take all our vertical measurements. First, the length that I'm working with here is 16 inches, so that is the length of this box. So this is my 16 inches from shoulder line down here. I have 16 inches, okay, so 16 inches from the shoulder line down here. But because my back length is different from my front length, the front length is 16 inches while the back length is 14 inches. So on the back block, because this one is already 16 inches, so this is our waistline for the front block, okay. While here on the back block, I will come up, the difference between the back and front block is 2 inches. That is 16 minus 2. 16 minus 14 rather, which is 2. Sorry about that. 16 minus 14, that is the 16 inches for the front length minus the back length, which is 14. 16 minus 14, which is 2 inches. So I'll come up by 2 inches on the back block. So this represents our waistline for the back block. So this is our waistline here. While for the front block, this is our waistline. For the back, this is our waistline. Okay, let's move ahead. So that's our vertical measurement. Now we determine our dart width. The dart width I'm working with. To determine the dart width, you have to know the bust span. Okay, the bust span. Sorry, I didn't include that in while I was explaining my measurement. Okay, so the bust span is the commonly known nipple to nipple. So from one nipple to the other, that is the bust span. So that is the dart width. Okay, the bust span I'm working with is 7 inches. Okay, so the 7 inches divided by 2 is what I'll be taking here. So 7 divided by 2, I'll mark that. From my center back, I'm marking 3.5 inch. That is 7 divided by 2. So I'm going to draw a vertical line at that point. Alright, so I'll come to the front block. Okay, after taking the length, the waistline, which is the one we have marked earlier, we are going to indicate the bust point, that is shoulder to nipple. Okay, the shoulder to nipple I'm working with here is 10.5 inches. So from my shoulder line on the front block, I'm marking 10.5 inch. Okay, and then I will mark a horizontal line at that point. Okay, so 10.5 inches is my bust point, that is shoulder to nipple. Alright, so I'll go ahead and mark the dart width, which is 3.5 like we did on the back block. 3.5. So I'll mark that to the bust point. Remember I said this is our bust point, shoulder to nipple. And then I'll square that. I'm going to mark a vertical line to my bust point. Here on the back block, we mark our line down to the chest line, but here I stopped at the bust point. Okay, so the next thing to determine now is first to take, you know that bulge that always appear at the back of a garment when this is not done. So this is just to remove the bulge at the back block. So you come to the waistline for the back block and come in by 0.5 inch. Okay, this depends on the body size. In some cases you can use 0.75. So this 0.5 is not static. Okay, but here I'll use 0.5. Okay, because this is for a slim person. All right, now to determine where this measurement stops, I'll come to the neckline on the back block. From the end of the neckline depth, okay, from the end of the neck, measure down to the chest line. Take measurement of the distance between the end of the neckline depth down to the chest line. So, and then locate the midpoint. So here, the midpoint of my measurement here is here. Okay, so that is where this waist marking that I did here, this is where I'm going to connect it. Okay, so you take measurement from the end of the neckline depth to the chest line and divide it by 2. So this is the midpoint of this distance, and then connect this 0.5 inch or 0.75, whichever you use. Connect it to this measurement that we just took now. Okay, so here this is going out of our pattern. We are just trying to remove that bulge on the zipper area. Okay, so this is going out. Now the basic dart that we have for a basic block like this, the basic one, the basic dart is 0.5. Okay, 0.5. So this dart now depends on the body size. So in some cases you use 0.75, in some cases you use 1 inch. Okay, but here I'll be taking 0.5 on both ends. Okay, 0.5 here and then 0.5 here. Okay, like I said, this is not static. You can use 1 inch on this side and 1 inch here, 0.75, 0.75 here. So, but here I'm using 0.5. And then from the chest line, you come down by 1 inch. And this is the point we are connecting our waist dart. So I'll connect the waist dart to that point. All right, and then I'll come to the front block, come down by 1 inch as well from the bust point. Okay, like so, and then connect, mark 0.5 on both ends as well, 0.5 inch, 0.5 inch, and connect it to the 1 inch that we just measured down the bust point. Okay, I hope we are following. Okay, so now we move to taking our measurement. Okay, so the bust I'm working with is 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. So on my chest line, I'll mark 8.75. Then I'll be adding 0.25 ease. I like to add ease to my bust circumference, so that is not compulsory, it's optional. Okay, so here I have my measurement for the circumference, and then I'll come to the waist and mark the waist circumference divided by 4 as well. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. Okay, this is my 7.5, then plus 1 inch dart allowance. Remember we took 0.5 here, 0.5 here, so 0.5 plus 0.5, that is 1 inch. So I'm going to add that to my measurement. So I have 8.5. okay, 8.5. all right, so I'll connect the 2 points. Okay, and then I'll come to the back block and take my measurement. My measurements start from this slanted line. Remember that 0.5 inch that we slanted to the midpoint of the distance between the distance from the end of the neckline depth to the chest line. This is our slanted line here. So my measurements start from that line, not from exactly the center back, because this is going out of the block. So this is my new center back now. So from this line, that is where I'm taking my measurement. Okay, so I'll take 8.75 from that point. I'm not going to add an ease here because there is no breast at the back. So the essence of me adding 0.25 to the front bust circumference is because of the breast. Okay, so my 8.75, then I'll come to the waist and mark my waist measurement as well, which is 30 divided by 4 is 7.5 plus 1 inch dart allowance, that's 8.5, just like we did on the front block. Remember I said my measurements start from this 0.5 that we took in, so not from my center back line but from here. So 8.5, okay, 8.5, this is my 8.5. Then I'll connect the 2 points as well, like so. Okay, so I have my measurements, the circumferences for the back and the front blocks fixed. Okay, so now remember the 2 inches difference between the front and back block. That will represent our bust dart, okay, on the front block, so that we can have the sides of our block to be equal. You can see that the front block is longer than the back block. There is no how we can join the two while sewing. So we have to impute our bust dart by using the difference between the front and the back block, the difference in length of the front and back block, which is 2 inches. So I'll come to my front block. From the bust point, I'll mark 2 inches. Remember, this is not the standard bust dart width, okay? It depends on the difference between your front and back block. So let's assume your front block is 1 inch longer than the back block, so the width of your bust dart here will be 1 inch. Okay, so this is not static. So I've measured my 2 inches, then I'll connect it to the bust point. I can also move away from the bust point by 1 inch. So I can move away from the bust point by 1 inch and I can connect it directly to the bust point. Connecting directly to the bust point here works preferably for slim people. For fat people or for the average sizes, you move away by 1 inch from the bust point and then you connect your measurement of the bust dart to that point. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. All right, so this is our bust dart. This is going out as well, so that we can have equal length on the sides of our block. Okay, so here is our half scale basic bodice block. All right, so the next thing now is to cut it out. Okay, but before cutting it out, I will extend this my bust dart out about 0.5 inch, move away by 0.5 inch from the measurement, move out like so, and then mark this V-like shape, because by the time we close the bust dart, this line, this measurement line will not be equal. It will miss each other. The upper part and the lower part will not align. So you make a marking, come out by 0.5 inch and make this marking, or you slash the center, separating the front block from the back block, separating the two at first, and then close the bust dart, reshape the side, okay, before you cut it out totally. You can do it that way as well. So we'll be cutting this out. and then we close our bust dart. What I was trying to explain is slashing this center line to separate the front block from the back block, and then before cutting out the measurements on the, let me put this aside, before cutting out the measurements on the front block, then we'll close our bust dart. But before we can close the bust dart, we need to open up. Before you can close up a dart, you have to open up another. Okay, so I'll open up the waist dart like so. I hope you can see. I'll open it up like so, down to the bust point, and then I'll close the bust dart. You can cut it out outrightly, and you can also fold it like so and close it up. You can cut it out outrightly, or you close it up like this, and that is where we need our masking tape. So you use your masking tape to secure it. Like I said, you can cut it out totally and then close it up like this. You can see, if you notice here on the side, the marking, this is the upper part, this is the upper part measurement, and this is the lower one. It's mixed each other about 1/4 of an inch. So that is the essence of coming out by about 0.5, so you can make up for that. But if you are not having space on that, you need to add little pattern paper on this part, and then you reshape the side by making sure that this upper part measurement here, it aligns with the lower one. So you reshape the side like so. I hope you can see that. So, and then I will cut out my measurement now. So here is our front block, and then here is our back block. Remember, the waist dart is going to be sewed. Okay, and then I'll cut out that 0.5 inch we took. Like I said, we are taking it off. And then here is our back block. Our back block. And then okay, so this is all about a half scale basic bodice block. If you look closely, you see the side of our block, the front and back block. You can see they are both equal on the side. Now that is the essence of our bust dart. Okay, so there's no magic about it. Thank you for being part of this awesome tutorial. I would like to see more of you. Kindly give this video a thumbs up, like and share the video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly hit on the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell in order to get notifications of our newly uploaded videos. Follow us on Instagram, PRV _Fashion _Academy. Also on Facebook, Pebbles and Ruby's Vogue. Alright, that will be all for now. See you in our next tutorial. Bye for now. Bye bye.